Delayed dreams, the morning light filtered through the blinds as Olivia Bennett stared at her reflection in the hospital locker room mirror. Her wedding dress hung in a garment bag on the door, a silent reminder of what today was supposed to be. The engagement ring on her finger caught the fluorescent light, sending tiny rainbows dancing across the wall. "Dr. Bennett, they need you in OR3. Multiple vehicle collision, 5 critical patients incoming." The voice of the head nurse, Patricia, broke through Olivia's thoughts. Olivia checked her watch. 10:30 a.m. Her wedding was at 2 p.m. Plenty of time, she thought. "I'll be right there." 4 hours later, Olivia's hands were steady as she completed the final sutures on her third patient of the day. The teenager would live thanks to her quick thinking and skilled hands. As she stepped back from the table, allowing the residents to finish up, the reality of the time hit her like a physical blow. 3:45 p.m. She had missed her own wedding. "Dr. Bennett, your phone has been ringing nonstop," the scrub nurse said softly. "And someone named Nathaniel has been calling the hospital every 15 minutes. Nathaniel, her fiancé, waiting at the altar. Olivia felt her stomach twist with guilt and panic. "I tried calling him to explain," Patricia added, appearing at the doorway. "But it went straight to voicemail after the 20th time." Olivia changed out of her scrubs with lightning speed, not bothering with makeup or hair. The wedding dress remained in its bag. There was no time. She drove to the church with her heart hammering against her ribs, rehearsing apologies and explanations that felt increasingly inadequate. The church parking lot was empty except for a single car, belonging to Fiona, their wedding planner. The grand doors that should have welcomed joyful guests stood ajar, revealing a deserted sanctuary. Flower petals were scattered down the aisle, leading to nowhere. "They're all gone," Fiona said, emerging from a side room with clipboard in hand. Her expression was a mixture of sympathy and something else, discomfort. Nathaniel waited for almost 2 hours. "I need to find him," Olivia said, already turning to leave. "There was a massive accident, 5 critical patients. I couldn't—" "Olivia," Fiona's voice stopped her. "Before you go, there's something you should know." The wedding planner hesitated, twisting her diamond-studded wedding band. "I've been in this business for 15 years. I've seen cold feet, family drama, and every disaster imaginable. But I've never seen a groom look relieved when told his bride wasn't coming." Olivia felt as if the floor had tilted beneath her feet. "What are you saying? When I announced you were held up at the hospital, everyone was concerned. Your parents were worried sick. But Nathaniel—" Fiona paused, choosing her words carefully. "He made a phone call immediately. He seemed almost eager to leave." "Where did they go? The reception venue?" Fiona nodded slowly. "But Olivia, he left with someone. Not with the groomsman or his family. With a woman in a blue dress." The description landed like a physical blow. Vanessa, her maid of honor, her best friend since college, in a periwinkle blue dress chosen to complement the wedding colors. Olivia's phone buzzed with a text from her mother. "Where are you? Everyone's at the Belmont Garden for what was supposed to be your reception. Nathaniel said you'd meet us here when you finished at the hospital." "Thank you, Fiona," Olivia said, her voice surprisingly steady as a cold clarity replaced her panic. "I think I know exactly where to find my fiancé." Unveiled truths, the Belmont Garden's elegant facade loomed ahead as Olivia parked her car in the far corner of the lot. Her hands trembled slightly as she cut the engine, the weight of Fiona's words still pressing against her chest. Instead of walking through the main entrance where guests would surely intercept her with questions she couldn't answer, she slipped through the service entrance she'd toured during wedding preparations. The catering staff barely noticed her as she moved through the kitchen, their focus on salvaging the expensive dinner for what had become an impromptu gathering rather than a wedding celebration. Olivia heard distant chatter and music from the main hall, but another sound caught her attention. Hushed voices from the bridal suite designated for her post-ceremony preparations. "They're expecting me to make an announcement soon." Nathaniel's voice drifted through the partially open door. "What am I supposed to say?" "Sorry, folks, my bride prioritized strangers over our wedding, but enjoy the champagne." "You know how she is with her job," Vanessa replied, her tone dripping with false sympathy. "Always putting everyone else first. Even today." Olivia froze, pressing herself against the wall beside the door. "Maybe it's a sign," Nathaniel continued. "The universe giving us an opportunity. I've been trying to find the right moment to end things for months." You could have done it before spending $80,000 on a wedding, Vanessa said with a soft laugh. Most of that was her parents' money anyway, Nathaniel replied dismissively. Besides, breaking up with the town's beloved doctor would have been a PR nightmare for the development project. Her father's influence on the zoning board was too valuable to lose. The revelation struck Olivia like a physical blow. Not only was Nathaniel unfaithful, but he'd been using her family's connections for his business interests. How long do we need to wait before we can be seen together? Vanessa asked, her voice dropping to a whisper. A respectable mourning period for the relationship, Nathaniel replied. 3 months should do it. Then we'll ease into public appearances. By then, the Westlake development will have cleared all regulatory hurdles. I've waited 2 years already, Vanessa sighed. What's another 3 months? 2 years. The entire duration of Olivia's engagement. The sound of movement inside the room prompted Olivia to retreat. As she backed away, her elbow knocked against a tray of glasses, creating a soft clink. The voices inside went silent. Instead of fleeing, Olivia straightened her spine and walked calmly toward the main reception area. Her mind raced, processing the betrayal on multiple levels: personal, professional, financial. Her instinct as a surgeon took over: assess the damage, develop a treatment plan, execute with precision. In the grand hall, guests mingled awkwardly, their formal attire now seeming excessive for what had become an uncomfortable social gathering. Olivia spotted her parents near the gift table, her mother dabbing at her eyes with a handkerchief while her father checked his watch repeatedly. Before she could approach them, Olivia caught sight of her cousin Julian Rhodes by the bar, deep in conversation with Nathaniel's business partner. Julian's expression was serious, his gestures emphatic. As Olivia moved closer, fragments of their conversation reached her. Knew the risks of keeping this quiet. Too much invested to let personal drama. Julian looked up and saw Olivia. His face paled visibly, and he immediately excused himself from the conversation. "Olivia, thank God you're here," he said, embracing her too tightly. "Everyone's been worried sick. Have they?" Olivia asked, studying her cousin's face. Julian had been like a brother to her growing up, had stood beside her through every major life event. Now she wondered what else he might know. "Of course," Julian replied, but his eyes slid away from hers. "Nathaniel's been trying to keep everyone's spirits up, but it's been difficult." "I'm sure he has," Olivia said. "How long have you known Julian?" "Known what?" His response came too quickly. "About Nathaniel and Vanessa." Julian's silence was answer enough. As he struggled to form a response, Olivia noticed Nathaniel entering the hall from the corridor leading to the bridal suite. Vanessa followed a careful 30 seconds later, her blue dress slightly wrinkled, her lipstick freshly applied. "I need some air," Olivia said quietly, turning away from her cousin. "Don't tell anyone you saw me. Not yet." As she slipped outside to the garden terrace, Olivia made a decision. The confrontation would come, but on her terms when she understood the full extent of the deception and who else might be involved. First, she needed evidence. And a plan. The Secret Alliance. The early morning light cast long shadows across Olivia's apartment as she methodically spread documents across her dining table. 3 days had passed since the non-wedding, and she had called in sick to the hospital for the first time in her career. The official story, circulated by her mother to friends and extended family, was that Olivia was devastated by the unfortunate timing of the emergency surgery and was working with Nathaniel to reschedule the ceremony. In reality, Olivia had spent 72 hours conducting a thorough investigation. Her medical training had taught her to be meticulous, to leave no stone unturned when diagnosing a problem. Now she applied those same skills to unraveling the web of lies around her. Her laptop pinged with an incoming email from her college roommate, Regina Patel, now a financial investigator for a major bank. The message was brief. "Found what you suspected. Call me." "The money trail is interesting," Regina said when Olivia called. "The Westlake development project shows significant investment from Rhodes Family Holdings. That's your cousin Julian's company, right?" "Yes," Olivia confirmed, the pieces falling into place. "And Nathaniel's company is the primary developer." "Well, what's unusual is the timing. The largest investment coincided with your engagement announcement, and there's a clause in the contract that requires your father's favorable recommendation to the zoning board as a condition." Olivia closed her eyes, remembering Julian's passionate endorsement of Nathaniel when they'd first started dating. "It's just business, Liv," he'd told her last year when she'd questioned the propriety of the family investment. "Separating personal and professional relationships is part of being an adult." A sharp knock at her door interrupted her thoughts. Through the peephole, she saw her younger sister, Charlotte. "You look terrible," Charlotte announced as Olivia let her in. Her eyes widened at the documents spread across the table. "What is all this?" "The truth," Olivia replied simply. "About Nathaniel, Vanessa, Julian, all of it." Charlotte picked up a printed email exchange between Nathaniel and Vanessa dated 18 months earlier. Her face paled as she read. "Where did you get this?" "Vanessa's cloud account. She used my laptop once and saved her password." Olivia shrugged. "I never had a reason to use it until now." "This is—" Charlotte struggled for words. "Liv, this says they've been together since before you even got engaged." "I know." Olivia's voice was eerily calm. "And Julian knew too. Probably others." Charlotte sank into a chair. "What are you going to do?" "Mother called this morning. She's arranged a family dinner tomorrow night at the Maple Room, supposedly to discuss rescheduling options for the wedding. Nathaniel will be there. So will Vanessa. Mother insisted I needed my best friend's support." A small, dangerous smile played at Olivia's lips. "Everyone involved in this deception will be in one room, thinking I'm the heartbroken, clueless bride who missed her own wedding." "The perfect opportunity for what?" Charlotte asked, concern etching her features. "Justice," Olivia replied simply. "Not revenge, justice." Meanwhile, across town, Nathaniel paced his office while Vanessa watched from his leather couch. "Julian says she's been quiet." "Too quiet," Nathaniel muttered. "Her mother can't reach her except by text. She hasn't been to work." "She's probably embarrassed," Vanessa suggested. "Missing your own wedding is pretty humiliating." "Everyone's talking about it." "We need to be careful," Nathaniel insisted. "The timing is delicate with the zoning board meeting next week. We need her father's support locked in before we make any moves." "Once the permits are approved, we're free," Vanessa said, rising to embrace him. 3 more weeks, then we can take that trip to Buenos Aires we've been planning. Leave all this behind." Nathaniel nodded but couldn't shake the uneasy feeling that had plagued him since the wedding day. Olivia was methodical, observant, qualities that made her an exceptional surgeon. If she suspected anything, "Let's just get through tomorrow's dinner," he said finally. "Play the supportive, understanding fiancé one last time. After that, we'll be in the clear." Neither of them noticed the catering delivery person photographing them through the office window as they kissed. A catering worker who bore a striking resemblance to Charlotte Bennett in a uniform and dark wig. The confrontation, the Maple Room glowed with warm, amber light as the maitre d' escorted Olivia to the private dining area. She had chosen her outfit carefully, not the devastated almost bride in disheveled loungewear, nor the vengeful woman in dramatic black. Instead, she wore a crisp emerald dress that projected calm confidence, her hair swept into a polished updo, medical precision evident in every detail of her appearance. Conversation halted as she entered. Her mother rushed forward first, engulfing her in a perfumed embrace. "Darling, we've been so worried," Eleanor Bennett gushed, examining her daughter's face. "You look surprisingly well." "I've had time to reflect," Olivia replied, her voice steady. She acknowledged the others with a nod. Her father, Richard, sister Charlotte, cousin Julian and his wife, Nathaniel's parents, and finally, Nathaniel himself with Vanessa hovering nearby. "There she is," Nathaniel said, rising to kiss her cheek. His performance was flawless, concerned, relieved, supportive. "We were beginning to think you'd gone into hibernation." "Something like that," Olivia agreed, accepting a glass of champagne from a server. "I've been organizing my thoughts." Dinner proceeded with excruciating politeness. Eleanor dominated the conversation with elaborate plans for a rescheduled ceremony. Perhaps a Christmas wedding? The Belmont Garden is available the second weekend in December. As dessert was served, Olivia tapped her glass gently. "I'd like to make a toast." All eyes turned to her expectantly. "To new beginnings," she said, raising her glass. "And to the truth, which has a way of revealing itself at exactly the right moment." Nathaniel's smile faltered slightly. Julian shifted in his chair. "I've learned so much this past week," Olivia continued. "About business, about relationships, about loyalty." She placed a USB drive on the table. "This contains some illuminating documents. Emails between Nathaniel and Vanessa dating back 2 years. Financial agreements showing how my engagement facilitated certain business arrangements. And photographs taken just yesterday at Nathaniel's office. The room went deathly silent. "I'm a surgeon," Olivia said calmly. "I deal in precision and truth. When I diagnose a condition, I don't sugarcoat it or pretend it doesn't exist. And what I've diagnosed here is a malignancy of deception that needs to be excised." "Olivia," her father began, his face flushed with anger or embarrassment, possibly both. "Dad, did you know the Westlake rezoning approval was contingent on your support? That your future son-in-law was using your daughter to secure business advantages?" Richard Bennett's shocked expression answered her question. "Julian knew," Olivia continued, turning to her cousin. "Didn't you, Julian? You've known about Nathaniel and Vanessa for months. You kept quiet because the family investment in Westlake would tank if the engagement fell apart." Julian paled. It wasn't like that. "Business is complicated, so is surgery," Olivia cut in. "But I never compromise a patient's care for personal gain." Nathaniel finally spoke, his charm evaporating. "You're overreacting. Making business connections through personal relationships is normal. It's how the world works. Is that how you justify sleeping with my maid of honor for our entire engagement?" Olivia asked calmly. "Just business?" Vanessa stood abruptly. "This is inappropriate." "You're embarrassing yourself, Olivia?" "No, I was embarrassed when I missed my wedding," Olivia replied. "Now I'm just grateful. That surgery saved a teenager's life and saved me from making the biggest mistake of mine." She turned to Nathaniel's parents. "The emails on that drive include some interesting exchanges between your son and the zoning board secretary. I believe that's called corruption in legal terms." As chaos erupted around the table, denials, accusations, revelations, Olivia stood and smoothed her dress. "I've said what I came to say. I won't be pressing charges, though others might when this information reaches them. Consider this my wedding gift to all of you, a chance to reflect on your choices." She paused at the doorway, looking back at the shattered dinner party. "Don't contact me again. Any of you, except Charlotte, of course." She smiled at her sister, who raised her glass in a small salute. "One last thing," Olivia added. "The Westlake development sits on a floodplain. As a doctor, I feel ethically obligated to ensure that information reaches the appropriate authorities. Just something to consider before your meeting next week." With that, she walked out, leaving behind the fragments of relationships built on lies and the beginning of her own liberation. Phoenix Rising. 6 months later, Olivia stood at the observation window of Operating Room 2, watching Dr. Thomas Mercer complete a complex aortic repair. His hands moved with the confidence and grace that had initially drawn her attention during their first surgery together. 3 months after what she now referred to simply as the non-wedding. "Beautiful technique," she murmured as he completed the final anastomosis. Thomas looked up, his eyes crinkling above his surgical mask. He gave a small nod of acknowledgement before returning his focus to closing the patient. Later, as they walked together through the hospital corridors, Thomas handed her a newspaper. Page 6. "Thought you might find it interesting." The headline read, "Westlake Development Officially Dead. Investigation Reveals Multiple Violations." A smaller photograph showed Nathaniel leaving a courthouse, his attorney shielding him from cameras. "I heard Julian had to liquidate his part of the family business to cover legal expenses," Thomas said quietly. Olivia handed the paper back without comment. The vindication had lost its sweetness months ago, replaced by indifference. Ancient history. They reached the doctor's lounge, where a small celebration was underway. Balloons decorated the coffee station and a banner proclaimed, "Congratulations, Dr. Bennett." "There she is!" Patricia, the head nurse who had been with Olivia on that fateful wedding day, hurried forward with a glass of sparkling cider. "The youngest chief of cardiothoracic surgery in the hospital's history." Colleagues surrounded her with congratulations and good-natured teasing. Dr. Reynolds, the retiring chief, presented her with a new lab coat embroidered with her name and title. "I can think of no better hands to entrust my department to," he said warmly. "Your dedication to your patients has always been extraordinary. Even when it costs you a wedding," someone joked, then immediately looked mortified. Olivia laughed, surprising everyone, including herself. "Best decision I never made," she replied lightly. The room relaxed following her lead. Later that evening, Olivia and Thomas sat on her apartment balcony, watching the sunset paint the city skyline in shades of gold and crimson. A comfortable silence stretched between them, the kind that comes only with mutual respect and understanding. "I got a call from Charlotte today," Olivia said eventually. "She's coming home next week. Her NGO work in Guatemala is finished for now." "That's wonderful," Thomas replied. "I've been looking forward to meeting the famous sister who helped expose a corruption ring." Olivia smiled. "She's been offered a position with a legal aid organization here. Apparently, our little family drama inspired her to switch from corporate law to ethics and accountability work." "Good things from bad situations," Thomas observed. "Like us." Their relationship had developed gradually, beginning as professional collaboration, evolving into friendship during late-night surgeries and early morning rounds. Thomas had never pushed, never rushed her healing process. He'd simply been present, solid, trustworthy. "I saw Vanessa yesterday," Olivia said suddenly, "at the coffee shop near the hospital. She was alone." Thomas raised an eyebrow but said nothing. "She looked unhappy," Olivia continued. "She tried to leave before I noticed her, but I caught her at the door. Do you know what I felt when I saw her? Anger? Satisfaction?" Thomas guessed. "Nothing," Olivia replied, sounding slightly surprised even now. "Absolutely nothing. No anger, no hurt, no vindication. It was like seeing a stranger." Thomas reached for her hand. "That's when you know you've truly moved on." Olivia nodded, looking out at the darkening sky. "I heard Nathaniel moved to Phoenix after the charges were reduced. Trying to rebuild his career there." "Phoenix," Thomas repeated thoughtfully. "There's something poetic about that. Rising from the ashes and all that." "Yes," Olivia agreed, turning to face him. "But I think I'm the phoenix in this story. I walked through fire and came out stronger." She leaned forward to kiss him softly, and with better company. As evening settled around them, Olivia reflected on the journey of the past 6 months. The betrayal that had seemed world-ending had instead been world-changing, redirecting her path toward greater professional success and more authentic personal connections. She had lost a wedding but found herself. "What are you thinking about?" Thomas asked, his voice gentle in the gathering darkness. "About how some endings are really beginnings," she replied, "and how sometimes missing your destination means finding a better one." Above them, the first stars appeared, marking new constellations in a sky that would continue to evolve, just as she would.